Hey everyone, so this is my review of The Flash, Season 5, Episode 1 called Nora, and essentially what this episode is about is that this mysterious person from the future shows up at Joe West's house, and Barry sort of has to deal with this person and try and figure out how to get her back to the future without disrupting the timeline. And this was a really interesting episode that definitely had a lot of good moments to it, and I'm very curious to see where they're going to take the storyline. And everything with Nora was really great with how she approached everything and how she really didn't have much of a filter when she talks and stuff. And that becomes a problem because she tends to share a bit too much information about the future or something like that, and everyone kind of has to deal with that. And then the actual whole background of why Nora is in the past and has been doing all the different stuff that we saw her doing all last season was interesting with the little bit that they revealed, where she's in this present past time for her because of the fact that she wants to get to know Barry, because her whole life Barry has been missing. And that is one part that I'm very excited and happy that they did finally get back to, because they keep bringing up this news article about the future and how the Flash goes missing and stuff, but they've never really done much of a storyline around it besides with season 1 and the Reverse Flash, and kind of thought they fixed it then, but then all of a sudden it came back. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to go, especially if this whole season is gonna revolve around that storyline, or at least half the season is Nora doing all this different stuff to try and save her father from going missing in the future and stuff. If that's gonna be the storyline, I'm very excited and very curious to see how that's all gonna play out, because that does seem like a really interesting storyline. Instead of a storyline of just all focusing around a villain and stuff, it's more focused around family. That I find kind of interesting and unique and cool. And I'm very excited and happy with what they did do with Nora, and how she is a very interesting character that is almost like a perfect mix between Iris and Barry. And it's very interesting with what they did do, because of the fact that Nora isn't actually a character in the comic books as far as I'm aware. She was kind of taken after Iris and Barry's kids, the Tornado Twins. And she's similar to them, but also very different from what I can remember from the Tornado Twins. So they did do a good job of creating this new character that does fit into the world really well, at least as far as we've seen her so far. The only real thing that I'm curious about with her still is where she fits in with the rest of the stuff that we saw her doing last season, where she was writing in that same weird language that Barry wrote when he came back from the Speed Force. And she has all this other little motives and things that she did to sort of approach people, but it was never really explained why. So I'm very curious to see how all that stuff's gonna fit into the future, and hopefully it does and they don't kind of forget about those scenes. And it was really fun with Ralph and his little bits of scenes that he had in this episode, where he is just discovering the idea of the multiverse and of time travel and stuff like that, and how he keeps coming up with these ideas thinking that they're genius ideas, but everyone else already knows them. So that was fun to sort of see with him. And then the ending of this episode between Ralph and Caitlin makes me really excited to see what that sort of side storyline is going to happen, where Cisco, Caitlin, and Ralph are all working to figure out how to get Killer Frost back, and more information about Caitlin's backstory and stuff, which I'm really excited to see, because she is still kind of a mysterious character, where the only bit of information that we've gotten so far is from meeting her mother last season or 2 seasons ago, and seeing how strict and stuff she was and how that sort of affected Caitlin. But still, we haven't seen a whole lot of her major backstory, so I'm very curious to see more about that and see what they do to eventually get Killer Frost back. And then just overall, this was a really great first episode, and I'm so excited to see what they're going to do next with the weird introduction at the end of the episode of this villain guy who's like killing metahumans, and them doing all this other different stuff with Nora and her possibly attempting to save her father and stuff. I'm just really excited to see how all that's going to play out. And just, yeah. So that was my review of The Flash, Season 5, Episode 1, called Nora. So, yeah.